You know, one of the most important things when you're out hiking and backpacking, to keep in mind is your calorie selection, the food that you're going to eat. And, especially if you go on a multi-day backpacking trip, flavor becomes just absolutely amazing. I mean, whatever something tastes like, in your normal day, it's amplified 2 or 3 times when you're out on the trail because you have a lack of, access to those kinds of flavors and foods. So, the food selection that you pick before you go on your trip is important, is really important because it's gonna help determine your happiness while you're out on the trail. It's also gonna have an effect on, your nutritional value, on, how you're feeling. If you're not getting the right nutrients or you're not eating the right stuff, you're gonna start to feel, down or sick or, not have any energy or, anything like that. And you don't want that when you're in the backcountry. You want a good, solid nutrition so that your body stays as solid as it can and as healthy as it can so that you can endure whatever it is that's, the elements are bringing you on that trip, rather it's a trip in the Adirondacks or a trip up and down the Pacific Crest Trail or whatever it is. You just want to make sure you're feeling good or as good as you can be so that you don't miss out on the experience that you're on. When I first started backpacking, I was a little bit curious about how that was done. When you start looking into it, you find out that there's a lot of different foods out there that you can pack and take with you. I mean, you can take tuna fish, you can take, those little packets of rice, you can take all kinds of stuff, but they've really made this easy nowadays with dehydrated meals. And if you've never had a dehydrated meal, it's basically just like, it says it's chili, mac, and with beef, except they've removed the water. They've freeze dried it so that the weight of the water's gone and all you have left is the actual fibers of that food or whatever you want to call it. And when you add water back in, it will rehydrate and then become delicious again, hopefully. So we don't know, but there's a lot of different brands and there's a lot of different kinds of foods. They even have desserts, and breakfast and lunch, whatever. They have all kinds of these things from different manufacturers. What I'm going to do is give you a review of my thoughts of a different meal each episode here, and we'll have quite a few of these because there's a lot of different options and brands. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Mountain House, which is a pretty big brand when it comes to the dehydrated foods. We're going to take a look at their chili mac with beef. So weighing in at 3.8 ounces, and why is that important? Because if you're backpacking, that's the actual weight you're gonna be carrying on your back. And what it comes down to is the nutritional value and the taste, per, ounce or however you wanna classify it as far as weight goes, per pound, per ounce, per gram, whatever, that you have to carry on your back. Now, this particular meal says it has 12 grams of protein, no extra cleanup, I guess, because you're just supposed to eat it out of the bag. I'm not sure how environmentally friendly these bags are since they help cook the food, but that's where we are. Ready in 10 minutes, just add water. And it says a spicy sauce with macaroni, beef, and beans. Now, in full disclosure, I've had this one several times, and I'll let you know what I think about it, but let's go through the process of making it. It says authentic chili flavor with real beef, macaroni, and kidney beans in a tomato sauce. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge chili fan. And so this if I had never had it before, it sounds delicious. So 230 calories per serving, a total of 460 for the whole pack. And that's, important because if you're splitting a bag, you're gonna get about 230. If you eat the whole thing yourself, you're gonna get about 460. For me, I'm 6'1", and 215, 220. And I'm probably going to eat the whole thing, 460. So I couldn't plan on splitting this with someone else and then both getting enough calories out of it to feel full, to get that full nutritional value. Not for me. Now, smaller people could definitely get by with that. What you'll also notice when you're looking at these the nutritional facts is that these dried meals are usually pretty high in salt. And you know, a lot of the nutritional values are designed at giving you the energy that you need to be in the backcountry, as well as rehydrating you. And you know, they're designed to give you the stuff that you're burning off when you're putting out a lot of effort. This particular meal is good by May of 2050. Whether you're waiting for the zombie apocalypse or, rather you're going backpacking all the time. It has a little spot where you tear right here. And that little tear is important because it makes things easy. I've never had a problem opening one of these guys up. Just rip that top right off of there. You know, typically if you're in the backcountry, you're gonna have your knife, but it's nice to not have to grab your extra tool if you don't have to. One of the most important things when making any dehydrated meal is the amount of water you use. It usually gives you a very specific amount. And in the backcountry, that's not always the easiest to measure out. However, you got to be very careful with this, and every meal is different. If you make it with too much water, it's going to be runny and soupy. Or even worse, if you make it with not enough water, it's still going to be dehydrated and crunchy. Inside, you need to take the oxygen absorber out. I don't know what that is, but it says do not eat and do not microwave, so we don't want to put it in here. It's not the end of the world. I've left them in there many times, but if you can remember it, get that out. Okay, so you need to use hot water, and so you got to have a way to bring your water up to a boil. Use a little gas container and my jet boil. And this just works very simply. You have a little fuel canister, and you have your jet boil cup itself. You have the burner. Don't forget to flip that out before connecting the jet boil to the gas canister, and screw it down tight. We don't carry measuring cups in the backcountry. This says use 1.5 cups, or 12 ounces. Things like this are typically what you see in the backcountry, which is 33 ounces. So it's really hard to gauge this. Inside of the jet boil, I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's a line right there that says 2 cups. I'm gonna pour 2 cups in there. And my reasoning here is that I'm gonna use, just a little short of that, but I'll have enough water to make sure if I need a little more, that I'll have it. We're at a boil. All right, there we go. And so 2 cups of water. I don't want to pour more than it calls for. I want to get it as close to 1.5 cups as possible. Some meals need a little extra. Some meals need a little less to make them perfect. Again, for me, I really hate it when it's soupy, but I prefer it to be soupy rather than crunchy, if that makes any sense. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to try to keep about 1/2 cup out, but I'm really eyeballing this. And noodles take more, some foods take more water than others, and that's about all I'm going to do. Now, number one thing you need to do here, you can see that water level, is you got to stir it, and you got to get it to the bottom of the bag, and we'll talk about stirring it here in a second, but just want to get that nice and mixed up, and a lot of seasoning can hide in the crevices of the bottom of the bag, so make sure you get those. Give it a nice stir. And then it has a little Ziploc feature where you just kind of Ziploc it shut. Make sure you shut it good. And then go do something for 10 minutes, because it takes about 10 minutes for most of them. Some of them a little more. Some of them can benefit, if you leave them a little more. Some of them are ready to go a little quicker. You guys with some backpacking experience know what tends to happen right here. You're hungry. You haven't eaten a good meal in a long time that day, or maybe at all. Maybe it's your only good meal of the day. So you tend to kind of open it up just a little early. And I'm telling you, that's the worst thing you want to do. Absolute worst thing you want to do. Don't get impatient with it. Your patience will pay big dividends when it's time to eat. All right, about halfway through. Let's go ahead and open it up. Oh yeah, look at that. That's good looking stuff and smells delicious. Got to give it a good stir, guys. You know, it's get those flavors and get that water, just hydrating those noodles. A good stir right in the middle is mandatory. Ten minutes is up. Let's go ahead and see where we are. Smells wonderful. Give it a stir. Get everything out of the corners. You know, being careful so that it doesn't burn you. Let's test it out. Go ahead and close it back up when it's cold for now, till we know it's ready. Close, but not quite. You know, it's funny. I thought I put too much water in there. I think I didn't put enough water in there. I know I put at least a cup and a half, but I bet it could have used a little more. And, you know, like I said, you got to kind of practice with these to get that consistency down perfect. Don't judge the meal 100% off the consistency the first time you cook it. Especially if you're out in the backcountry and you don't have any way to measure the water. I could have brought a measuring cup today. Been easy. I'm not in the backcountry. However, that wouldn't be how I make the meal. You know, when I'm out in the mountains, I'm kind of eyeballing it and using whatever measurements I have, like on the jet boil on the side. That's all you have. All right, guys, 15 minutes, or almost 15 minutes anyway. Let's see where we stand. And again, nice little stir. You see this spoon? A long spoon is necessary to eat out of these bags most of the time, so that you're not getting your hand all dirty by sticking a regular spoon. To stick a regular spoon in here, you got to get your hand all in the bag, and that sucks. You need a long spoon, or you can take your knife and cut the bag in half, but even that's still messy. Let's go, a little bite. The beans are not quite as hydrated as I wanted them to be, but the noodles in the burger are. It's kind of odd. The noodles hydrated a lot easier, a lot more than both the beef and the beans. It's delicious. This is one of my son and I's favorite. Spiciness. I think all of these meals need to have a rating of spiciness. And on a 1 to 5, 1 being, you know, no spiciness at all, and a 5 being the hottest thing you've ever eaten, I want to give you a rating as where I put it on that scale, and I'm going to put it at a 2. It's got that chili flavor, but it's really not spicy. So, you know, if you like spiciness, it's not going to deliver a whole lot for you. If you don't like spiciness, you can stand it. And it's just that chili flavor coming through. I'd say it uses more water than it calls for in the bag. It calls for 1.5. You could easily put 1 3/4. However, weather conditions may affect that. I'm not sure how that, you know, plays out with the results. Thickness is perfect, but like I said, the beans came out just a little bit underhydrated. No big deal. It's so good. Overall score, I'm going to give it a score between 1 and 5, 1 being the worst thing I've ever eaten, 5 being the best you could possibly expect out of a dehydrated meal. I'm going to give it a 4. Now, it's not the best thing I've ever eaten, obviously, but for a dehydrated meal, this checks a lot of the boxes. The flavor, the consistency. I'd say the reliability is a little low because you got to have that perfect amount of water, and I don't think it's what's on the bag. So a 4, 3.5, I guess, 4, somewhere right in there. If you're hungry, I don't care if you're in the backcountry or not, you're gonna love it. It's a good meal. You're gonna find the price tag is somewhere between $8 and say $12 for me. I think it's like $9.50 right now. And that stuff's changing fast. So, you know, it's not crazy expensive, but it's not cheap either. You know, it's about the price of a quick lunch or something out at a fast food restaurant or something like that, I guess. And I definitely would buy this again and will buy this again. And I definitely recommend it, especially if you love chili. If you enjoy this video, I really would appreciate your support by taking the video, sharing it to your, via text message to your family and friends, on your Facebook wall, your Twitter wall, whatever social media handles you have. I'd really appreciate it because it'll help me reach more people. The YouTube algorithm loves that sharing stuff. Like it if you enjoyed the video. Leave us a comment. Tell us what your favorite backpacking meal is down in the comments below. I really appreciate your support, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next video. You see how that's a tall spoon. That's down in the bag quite a bit. That's good.